Who stayed at all three of the locations of Jeffrey Epstein's homes in America? Reid Hoffman. Reid Hoffman stayed at all three locations. He slept over, right? That's the top 1%. That's the inner circle. That's the Epstein inner circle. That's as close as you get. Reid Hoffman is the co-founder of LinkedIn. He was a member of the PayPal mafia. He's a big-time Silicon Valley guy. You know, he was an early investor in Facebook. He's on the board of Microsoft, and he's all over the Epstein files. His name shows up 2,600 times. And there's a very close relationship. You can kind of tell through the emails and the correspondence between Epstein and Hoffman that they were very close friends. They quite literally call each other very close friends. They talk about how much they miss each other. They can't wait to see each other again. Hoffman stayed on the island. Hoffman visited the New Mexico Zorro Ranch, stayed at the ranch for the weekend, according to these emails. Hoffman stayed at the New York apartment. He slept over at the New York apartment where a lot of these child trafficking, allegations arose, right? So of all the people in the files, of all the people in Epstein's contact list and emails, a small percentage actually stay at all three properties. And Reid Hoffman is on that list. So this man should be investigated. He's an extremely powerful person. He's one of the largest Democratic donors in the country. Epstein even says he's donated over $100 million to the Democrats, right? And he even mentions in one of his emails, I got you a gift, ice cream for the girls. Like, what are we talking about here? Ice cream for the girls? You're talking to the convicted pedophile and you got ice cream for the girls? Okay. You can definitely see them going back and forth on tax advice, on purchasing private jets, on the gifts they keep buying each other. The bromance is really there where they talk about, I miss you. I can't wait to talk to you again. I can't wait to see you. I really like Reid Hoffman. He tells other people, my very close friend, Reid Hoffman. There's a bromance going on here, which is not really seen with everyone else. And what did they bond on, right? Was it ice cream for the girls? Is that what they bonded on? I don't know. I'm not sure. But it should be asked, right? Because this is one of the most powerful men in the world, and he's the largest Democratic donor in the nation, $100 million for these very shady, questionable political tactics, this lawfare that has really ruined modern politics, I would say, especially funding, fake Russian bot armies on Twitter and Facebook. What are we doing? He had to have known, right? He does an interview and he says, I should have Googled him. Brother, it's all over the news. He's a convicted pedophile. There's global news talking about him trafficking underage girls to Prince Andrew. And you're saying I should have Googled him? Turn on CNN. We all know you're watching it. Just turn it on. It's right there. MSNBC, it's right there. It was a massive scandal. And you're offering to help him with his public relations at that time. You're going to clean up his image. That's crazy. In 2025, a few months before the release of the Epstein files, Reid Hoffman claimed that he only had a handful of interactions with the convicted pedophile, and those interactions ended in 2015. He claimed those interactions were strictly with academics and involved with raising funds for MIT. Let's listen to what he said.
I had a handful of interactions with a man entirely within these academic circles.
Just to be clear here, you're saying that your relationship with him came strictly through fundraising for the MIT Foundation. Yeah. Is it accurate to say that you've also, as part of that, went to the island? Like you were on Jeffrey's island?
Well, because this was part of what Joey asked me to do is say, hey, Jeffrey said that he's more likely to give money if you would come and visit with me. I'm like, well, I'm coming to Boston. I'll go through wherever this place is on the way to Boston.
What was the island like?
I was there for a night. It was like, okay, there was a courtyard. There was like a bunch of guest rooms. There was a pool.
You go to a lot of like there are a lot of private, like you're going to fancy random people's islands like frequently, or like how unusual?
Well, that was the first time I've gone to an island. I've gone to a couple since then. That was, again, part of the reason why, note to self, Google before going.
Here's Epstein saying he spent a couple hours on Skype with Reid Hoffman and he likes him a lot. Please make sure you are extra nice and friendly to Reid Hoffman. I like him a lot. In March 2014, Epstein emails his assistant and pilot and told them that Joy Ito and Reid Hoffman would be staying at his New Mexico Zorro Ranch. In April 2014, Hoffman asked Epstein to donate to Cory Booker's campaign. Hoffman explained, "It's important that we support the good people that go into politics." In September 2014, Hoffman flew to Florida, hopped on Epstein's jet and flew to St. Thomas, then hopped on Epstein's helicopter and flew to Little St. James, Epstein's private island. Here's Hoffman with Joy Ito on Jeffrey Epstein's island. In November 2014, Epstein buys Hoffman a gift, 2 water-weight dumbbells for the pool, and he sent them to Hoffman's house. In December 2014, Hoffman slept over at Epstein's New York apartment. The next morning, Epstein hosts a breakfast party at his New York apartment with Reid Hoffman, Bill Gates, Josh Harris, and Ron Barron. On December 24th, 2014, Hoffman sent 2 gifts to Epstein's New York apartment. Ice cream for you and the girls. And something that may strike your funny bone for the island. Hope you're having fun as usual. I'm seeing Bill and Satya again in January. Why is a billionaire sending a convicted pedophile ice cream for the girls? On January 2nd, 2015, Virginia Roberts' allegations against Jeffrey Epstein and Prince Andrew surfaced in a civil court filing. CNN and major media outlets quickly reported on the case.
These are very strong allegations. They are contained in a motion that's been filed in a Florida court by a woman who claims that Jeffrey Epstein, he's an American investment banker who's been convicted in court of sexual offences, loaned her to rich and powerful friends. Now, amongst those friends named in this document are indeed Prince Andrew.
On January 8th, 2015, Epstein asked Hoffman if he sent the metal sculpture. Hoffman replied, "My gift to you. I thought it might strike your sense of humor and have an appropriate nature to the island. I've been giving a bit of thought to how I can help with recent press, mostly on the online front." At the exact moment the Virginia Roberts allegations and the Prince Andrew scandal were erupting, Hoffman offered to assist Epstein with managing his online reputation. Hoffman had the knowledge and connections to clean up Epstein's online footprint. But why is LinkedIn's co-founder offering to help a convicted pedophile with negative press stories? The beauty of the Epstein files is you actually do get the source documents of who Epstein was communicating with, what they were talking about. And Reid Hoffman shows up in a bunch of these emails. There's 2,600 mentions in the overall Epstein files. And the reason Reid Hoffman's so important is because he funded these disinformation campaigns. He's funded a lot of the lawfare for Democrats. It's a lot of the dirty tricks that make politics so bad and so evil. Right. So, for example, in 2017, he funded Project Birmingham, right? And this new knowledge startup, which was a technology company that was essentially creating fake Russian bots to follow Republican candidates and to basically plant the seed in the media that the Republicans were supported by the Kremlin, right? So they were literally creating fake Russian bots on Twitter and on Facebook. And I mean, this is in the heat of the moment when there's all this, wild insinuation and speculation and disinformation that President Trump was a Russian asset from the Steele dossier, which was funded by Fusion GPS, which Reid Hoffman also funded. So Reid Hoffman funded the Project Birmingham thing, which he had to apologize for in 2018 because they were creating fake Twitter accounts that were posing as conservatives and Russian bots. And they were using this to divide the Republican vote and to fake the idea that Republican Roy Moore in Alabama was backed by the Kremlin, right? So they would get thousands of the fake Russian bots to follow the Republican candidate. Then they would get the media to talk about it as if, this was the Kremlin supporting a Republican. And this is at the same time where everyone's saying, oh, it's so bad that Russia has all this sway over elections. And the very people who are saying this are funding fake Russian bots, right? I mean, you can look at Renee DiResta, who was a member of New Knowledge and went on to work at the Stanford Internet Observatory. So she's kind of this figure who got really big into the censorship with Department of Homeland Security through 2020 with COVID and the election, right? And she actually was a big part of the Senate Intel Committee report where it cites all these Russian bots interfering in the 2016 election. But she was also a member of New Knowledge, which was faking Russian bots. And we just walk over that like it's not a big deal. But, these are some very prominent people, and they were caught faking Russian bots. And Reid Hoffman funded it. He even had to apologize. Think about how bad that is, It's literally running disinformation campaigns against American citizens. When you talk about Reid Hoffman, you also have to talk about Clear Choice PAC, which was in 2024. So he funded this PAC. Clear Choice PAC used lawfare to attempt to remove Cornel West and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. from the ballot in the battleground states. So they wanted to get them off the ballot so all the Democrat voters could vote for Joe Biden or Kamala Harris, who Hoffman also donated tens of millions of dollars to. So he's literally stripping people of their right to vote for their preferred candidate, right? And he claims to be supporting democratic principles, but he's literally stripping people of their right to vote for their preferred candidate. That's actually what turned Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to drop out and to endorse Trump, which is kind of ironic in many ways, right? So the Clear Choice PAC thing was just an example of the lawfare. He also funded the E. Jean Carroll lawsuit, right? Which the New York legislature made a specific law just so they could target Donald Trump. This lady has no evidence, right? There's no physical evidence. There's no video evidence. There's no police report. It's just completely based on her word. And you use a biased New York jury pool, a biased New York judge with no evidence, right? They're able to do that. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. So he's funding the E. Jean Carroll lawsuit while he's all over the Epstein files. They were very close friends. I would say Hoffman is in the top 1% of close friends with Epstein during these years. And it doesn't end in 2015. His relationship with him continues on until 2018. They're regularly communicating, going to dinner, doing Skype calls, setting up dates, buying each other gifts. That's the part where it gets really strange too. Like, they were kind of in a bromance. They kind of really liked each other. They even say, "Oh, I missed you. I can't wait till we talk again. I bought you ice cream for the girls. I got a metal sculpture for the island." Like, what are we doing here? I got a metal sculpture for the island. I think it's gonna tickle your funny bone. Hoffman bought Epstein ice cream for the girls. What? And this is around the same time that a lot of these Epstein, scandals are breaking publicly. In December 2015, the scandal between Jeffrey Epstein, Prince Andrew, and Virginia Roberts really comes out, where it's alleged in court filings in Florida that, Virginia Roberts says she was trafficked to powerful men, including Prince Andrew, in 3 different locations, right? At the ranch, at the island, and in Jeffrey's New York apartment. Now, there's only a handful of these people in the emails who actually go to all 3 of those locations and stay the night. And Reid Hoffman is one of those people, right? So he says in one email chain, they're talking about sleeping the night at 71st, which is a New York apartment. Reid Hoffman spends the night there. For the following morning, there's a big breakfast with Bill Gates and a few other people, right? So a couple other billionaire investors. But Hoffman actually spent the night at the New York apartment, which is where all these girls are alleging all these things happened, right? And there's another email where it says that Hoffman's going to be staying the weekend at the New Mexico ranch, at Zorro Ranch, where a lot of alleged trafficking and other problems are going on too. And you don't really see any of these other powerful elites in there staying at all 3 locations, right? There's actually pictures of Hoffman on the island. He visited the island, stayed at the island overnight. And see, I think that's the big difference when understanding the files as well. Like, Epstein was a professional networker, right? And he really, his contact list is the the most powerful people in the world, right? It's presidents, it's prime ministers, it's sultans, it's senators, it's tech billionaires, other types of billionaires, investors. So everybody's kind of in the contact list or the emails, but only a small percentage of people actually stayed the night at all 3 properties, right? I would say it's like Prince Andrew, Les Wexner, perhaps Leon Black probably stayed at all 3. Obviously, like Ghislaine Maxwell, Jean-Luc Brunel. But really, Reid Hoffman stayed at all 3 properties. And that should be talked about. That should be discussed, right? Because there's a big difference between the people who stayed at the properties and had this close relationship and were aware of the girls and what was going on. And he even mentions in one of his emails, "I got you a gift, ice cream for the girls." Like, what are we talking about here? Ice cream for the girls? You're talking to the convicted pedophile and you got ice cream for the girls? Okay. A little strange. In July 2015, Hoffman rented out a California restaurant and hosted a dinner between Jeffrey Epstein, Mark Zuckerberg, Priscilla Chan, and Peter Thiel and Elon Musk. Hoffman, the founder of LinkedIn and one of the most successful professional networkers in modern history, served as Epstein's conduit to Silicon Valley's inner circle. He acted as a key gatekeeper, introducing Epstein to major tech leaders such as Mark Zuckerberg and Peter Thiel, helping him gain access to the highest levels of the tech elite. After the dinner, in August 2015, Epstein told Hoffman that he really appreciated his friendship, thanked him for the dinner, and asked for Mark Zuckerberg's number. Epstein invited Hoffman to join him in New York in September for the UN General Assembly and the Clinton Global Initiative. I will be at the ranch the rest of the month. Come whenever you want. Bring whomever you please. Hoffman replied, as always, very fun talking with you. Michelle noted that you were the most conversational of the high intellects. Smiley face. I will introduce you to Mark Zuckerberg. Let me look at September and August. Smiley face. That same day, Epstein emailed Hoffman about purchasing a private jet and said, I will hold your hand along the way. Layout to match your personal needs. Bed or desk. Price 12 to 25 million. Hours already flown are most important, not year made. Cycles tell you how many times the cabin has been pressurized and the landing gear has been used. Go to sleep in your own bed with your own sheets and pillows. Wake up, have your snack, and ready. On August 5th, the following day, Hoffman emailed both Epstein and Zuckerberg, sharing their contact information with each other. He wrote that he was sending along the email connections from the dinner so the conversation can continue. Hoffman claimed that his relationship ended with Epstein in 2015, but here they continue to email each other from 2016 until 2018. In February 2016, Epstein emailed Hoffman and said, I was really looking forward to seeing you and spending time together. Come visit. Hoffman replied, likewise. I brought a gift that will wait for the next opportunity. Smiley face. Hope DC was good. Epstein replied, if you're coming to the East Coast, any city, I will fly and meet you. I will be at my ranch March 3rd if you want to join. Your market challenge is one of momentum. Most new shareholders over the past 2 years have a paper loss, but they are hopeful. You now have true long-term investors. Employee options that explode counters the risk that the stock does not grow as fast and retains top people at the same time. In March 2016, Epstein emailed Hoffman and said, I miss talking and seeing you. Hoffman replied, when do you hang out in New Mexico? Smiley face. Epstein responded, all of August, but if you give me a date in May, I will gladly host you and anyone else you want to bring. Hoffman replied, August will likely work. They're exchanging gifts, a metal sculpture for the island, ice cream for the girls, hydro weights for workouts, providing tax advice, and shopping for private jets. Hoffman and Epstein were in a bromance that had nothing to do with fundraising for MIT. In April 2nd, 2016, Hoffman set up a private dinner with Epstein. He wrote, private dining room, Japanese restaurant, sashimi, sushi. Hoffman books a private room at Fuki Sushi in Palo Alto for dinner with Epstein. Jeffrey's assistant says, yes, Jeffrey loves sushi. He likes sashimi, white tuna, or yellowtail, shrimp, eel, all the rolls. If you have an assortment, I'm sure he'll eat it. On April 27, 2016, Epstein emailed Hoffman's assistant and said, please tell Reid that I have his passport. I found it in the gift bag that he gave me. I will bring it with me on Friday. Hoffman responded, we had wondered where it had flown to. Thanks. Also, are you on for dinner with Joy and Larry? On June 18, 2016, Epstein messaged the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia's personal assistant and said, your boss will meet my very close friend, Reid Hoffman. I have told Reid to take care of you. On June 20th, Epstein told Hoffman, the Saudi Mohammed right hand is Rafat. They will come to New York after Silicon Valley. Hoffman responded, anything you think I should cover? Epstein replied, yes. Theme parks. He wants to keep his people occupied. Economic free zones. New currency idea. He likes it. He views their geographic location as paramount, as a hub for Asia, Africa, and Western Europe. More tomorrow, just give me time. That same day, Epstein told Hoffman, they're more of a rich family with a flag, Putin's comment, surrounded by nations with a vast history. Iran is their major competitor. They've done U.S. dirty work for years, feels betrayed by secret talks during Iran negotiations. Mohammed understands English perfectly and is a bit like the kid who wants to take over his father's business and show the family how it should be done. His views are that his father's friends do not understand the ways of the new world. He's run by emotions and face. His dialogue in private is 180 degrees different than public. Skype soon. Smiley face. You know, it's kind of funny because Epstein's so bad at communicating. Like, the emails are just terribly written. It's just not proper English. It doesn't make sense. And I think he's kind of going with that "I'm so rich, I don't care" attitude. I talked to people like that before, where the emails and the text messages are just such broken English. Or he's just a boomer with big fingers and he doesn't know how to type on his cell phone. Another option, you know? But you can definitely see them going back and forth on tax advice, on purchasing private jets, on the gifts they keep buying each other. The bromance is really there, where they talk about, "I miss you. I can't wait to talk to you again. I can't wait to see you. I really like Reid Hoffman," he tells other people. You know, "My very close friend, Reid Hoffman." There's a bromance going on here, which is not really seen with everyone else. And what did they bond on, right? Was it ice cream for the girls? Is that what they bonded on? I don't know. I'm not sure. But it should be asked, right? Because this is one of the most powerful men in the world, and he's the largest Democratic donor in the nation, $100 million for these very shady, questionable political tactics, you know, this lawfare that has really ruined modern politics, I would say, especially funding, you know, fake Russian bot armies on Twitter and Facebook. What are we doing? Like, this is crazy. What are we doing here? Who's funding fake Russian bots? This is how you're using the millions you've earned from LinkedIn and Microsoft. What are we doing here? Okay. This is absolutely crazy. I mean, think about it. People got arrested for posting memes about the election, right? Douglas Mackey, he posted a meme about, "Oh, you shouldn't vote on this day, you should vote on that day," right? This billionaire, this tech billionaire who's all over the Epstein files, is literally funding a fake Russian bot army. And he makes a simple apology. It's a couple Washington Post articles, and no one ever talks about it again. He continues to be the largest Democratic donor in the country. He's also funding like Indivisible, which was behind a lot of the, you know, violent protests at Tesla facilities, where it ended up being with, like, you know, Tesla facilities being firebombed, like guns, people shooting Tesla facilities. And it started out, you know, everyone supports peaceful protesting. There's nothing wrong with that. I think any American supports that. But when you start to cross the line into violence and, you know, firebombing these sites, and it's crazy. This is some third world country nonsense. It's some, you know, we can't be doing that kind of stuff. Nobody supports that, right? And the organization was kind of the spearhead of, you know, a lot of these violent protests. So he's not a good guy, right? He lied about his relationship with Epstein. He spent years longer communicating with him. And one of the craziest messages in the entire thing, it's January 2015, and the Prince Andrew scandal is breaking global news. CNN is covering it. BBC is covering it. Everybody's covering it, right? Prince Andrew was, Jeffrey Epstein was trafficking underage girls to Prince Andrew. Reid Hoffman emails Jeffrey Epstein, right, about the gifts he bought him, right? So ice cream for the girls and the metal sculpture. And he says at the end, "I've been thinking about some ways I can help you with the negative press, especially on the online front." What are we doing? What are we doing? What do you mean? You want to help him with Jeffrey Epstein, the convicted pedophile, as the elite sex trafficking network story is being broken? You want to help him with his negative press on the online front? What? So are you gonna use your tools from Silicon Valley? You know, you're on early investor in Facebook? Are we gonna, you know, suppress knowledge of this on Facebook and Instagram's algorithm? Are we gonna suppress stories on LinkedIn about this? We're gonna clean up Jeffrey Epstein's online footprint? So I mean, I don't know. There's not a lot of people in there that are offering to help Jeffrey Epstein with his PR as the scandal is breaking, as the child trafficking scandal is breaking. This is one of those guys. It should be talked about. It should be investigated, right? At the very least, this guy should be investigated. Like I said earlier, there's a big difference between people who are essentially in the contact list, a couple emails, they're not close, and then the people who stayed at all of the properties, who are very close, who you can see through the emails, they have an intense dialogue and a relationship and a friendship. You know, they're buying each other gifts and all these. There's a big difference. So Hoffman keeps trying to point the finger at Elon Musk and saying, oh, he's literally sharing Musk emails with Epstein about how he was going to go party on the island and all this, right? And you got to notice that Elon says, I'm going to go with my wife. I've been working really hard. I would love to let loose on an island and party, okay? He never goes. Elon never went. He never went to the island. He never went to the New York apartment. He never went to the Zorro Ranch in New Mexico. Reid Hoffman went to all three. He stayed the night. He was buying ice cream for the girls, right? So there's a totally different level here of the relationship between these people, Elon and Hoffman and Epstein, right? There's a bromance between Hoffman and Epstein. They literally say they miss each other and they can't wait to talk to each other again, right? They're exchanging tax advice. They're shopping for private jets. They're exchanging gifts. They're staying at each other's places. Totally different level, right? So it's kind of a disgrace and a joke that so much of the media is trying to portray this as like the feud between Elon and Reid Hoffman and the relationship between Epstein. Elon didn't really have a relationship with him. There's a few emails, right? And the emails, you can tell they're not close. There's a few emails with Epstein with everybody, right? He's talking to Rothschilds. He's talking to prime ministers and defense ministers and presidents. He's flying the president, all over the world. Bill Clinton, he flew him all over the world. So, everybody's in there, but you got to see the closeness of their relationship. On June 21st, 2016, Epstein provided Hoffman with more tax advice. It would take 60 days for a well thought through plan, but save hundreds of millions of dollars. In July 2016, Epstein provided Hoffman with more tax advice and private jet advice. He sent links to various private jets. On July 26, 2016, Epstein continued to provide tax advice to Hoffman. Trust CRT where the stock can be sold on a tax-free basis. On July 28, 2016, Epstein emailed Hoffman about a private jet and said, you would have to upgrade the interior, only $18 million. On November 5th, 2016, Hoffman emailed Epstein about the importance of Hillary Clinton winning the 2016 election. We stand on the cusp of history on many fronts. There is an opportunity to elect our first female president and keep our democracy from sinking into dangerous and unprecedented demagoguery. There is an urgent need for leadership, with all of us collectively leveraging our networks to share calls to action that increase voter turnout and early voting. Amplifying our efforts now can help preserve the significant accomplishments we've made under President Obama over the last 8 years. A week later, after Trump won and Hillary lost, Epstein emailed Hoffman and said, we have lots to do. In May 2018, Hoffman emailed Epstein and said, Joy says that you're on the fence around investing in the fund. Is it worth scheduling the Skype call for that? Otherwise, hope you're well. Smiley face. In October 2018, Epstein messaged a redacted name and said, one of my friends, Reid Hoffman, has spent almost $100 million on Dems. So when you talk about all these people, right? You talk about President Trump, you talk about President Clinton, you talk about, the Sultan and the big billionaire investors, Jess Staley and Leon Black and Peter Thiel and Elon Musk and all these people, Prince Andrew. Who stayed at all three of the locations of Jeffrey Epstein's homes in America? Reid Hoffman. Reid Hoffman stayed at all three locations. He slept over, right? That's the top 1%. That's the inner circle. That's the Epstein inner circle. That's as close as you get. So I think that's really important to put into context. Honestly, Hoffman should be investigated. He's one of the closest. It's really a bromance between these two. It's very scary. He had to have known, right? He does an interview and he says, I should have Googled him. Brother, it's all over the news. He's a convicted pedophile. There's global news talking about him trafficking underage girls to Prince Andrew. And you're saying I should have Googled him? Turn on CNN. We all know you're watching it. Just turn it on. It's right there. MSNBC, it's right there. It was a massive scandal. And you're offering to help him with his public relations at that time. You're going to clean up his image. That's crazy. It's crazy.